Emotional intelligence is a key skill. We really need it for everyday life.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, as a young person growing up, bearing in mind that you're not taught anywhere this skill, you're not taught in school. And many times you grow up in an environment where even feelings are not recognized. You're told, get over it, when you express your feelings. How do you then begin to cultivate emotional intelligence? We can start with you, Derek.
Right, and therein lies the problem. These are skills that need to be taught to us in schools. In fact, some of countries like Australia and some of the Scandinavian countries like Denmark, they're already teaching these skills to kids as young as 6 and 7 years old. So where does it all begin? I think for us as Genos practitioners, Genos being the company that we practice the emotional intelligence through, is something called self-awareness. To me, that is the door to beginning to become more emotionally intelligent. And what is self-awareness? Self-awareness is simply a matter of being aware of the emotions that you're going through at any particular time. And then logically, what will follow is, how do I deal with that? Now, self-awareness can start by checking in with yourself on a regular basis. Right now, how do you feel? Do you feel great? Do you feel triggered? Whatever emotion is going through yourself, beginning to be aware of those emotions and then finding out where those emotions come from. Are they productive? Are they healthy? And some of those things. And that is something that all of us can do. It's literally like activating something inside of you. We tend to go through life, and particularly, I won't say as young people, but there are stages that we go through in life where we simply act and we make decisions based on something that we're not even sure why we decided to act that way. And when we make decisions on a regular basis, people can point to that as a pattern of behavior. That's how so-and-so behaves. And ultimately that can affect our performance. So I would start by saying, begin to develop this self-awareness. And this self-awareness is about knowing what you're feeling, why you are feeling that particular feeling. And I'm using these words interchangeably just for the ease of this conversation, although technically feelings, moods, and emotions are technically different. But what emotion are you going through at the time, and why are you feeling it?
Okay.
Great. Vicky?
Yeah, so maybe to add on to what Derek is saying, and I'm going to start from the point where he said beginning to practice self-awareness. So the development of any skill is through the practice. And so when we are able to practice the skill away from the stressful situations. So like Derek said, right now, if you're able to find out how you're feeling towards this conversation, are you curious? Are you bored? Are you thinking, what are you going to do next? And just learning to put an inventory around that. In the morning when I woke up, I was anxious. And with time, then you start asking the right questions. In the morning, I woke up and I was anxious. Why was I anxious? Because that's where the real power starts, understanding why are you anxious. And then the next thing is to also notice the actions you take. Like Derek said, your actions become your tabia. So when you're anxious, do you lash out? Starting to notice those patterns. When I'm anxious, I always lash out. When I'm angry, I tend to blow up or I tend to withdraw. Then now you start really understanding how you're reacting to certain moods and emotions, to certain people, and creating certain habits. And you're developing your self-awareness. So really also understanding then what is the impact of those behaviors that I'm having. If I'm withdrawing from potential conversations, are people calling me misunderstood? Is that the impact that I want to really have if I want to connect with someone, or if I want to have a conversation with someone? Is that the possible outcome that I want? So it's that practice, that daily practice, that's starting to be curious about, what am I feeling? What are my moods? What are my emotions? Where could they be coming from? what is the go-to habit I'm finding myself having because of these things? And then what is the overall impact? Is it what I desire? Is it what I think will be great for me to move forward or to grow myself? Or to even, I mean, when you're in class, for instance, the teacher walks in. He's boring, yeah, he's so boring. So you switch off. Quite naturally, and you don't even know, we don't even ask ourselves why have we switched, you're like, let me just switch off. So you switch off, and then that means like you have to read so much harder in that particular unit because you just didn't pay attention. So what was a possible outcome of you getting bored? What could you possibly have done to maybe make the experience a lot better for you so that you're able to show up a bit better in class and then have yourself benefiting from the boring teacher? That's just a very simple example, but an indication of how we could start developing our self-awareness.
So to me, that feels like then it's a journey. It's not something that I can cultivate today and I can say I'm great at it today. Am I right? Is it a journey? Is it an ongoing journey, Derek?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Vicky says it's a skill. It's a skill that needs to be developed. In fact, I have a formula here that I sometimes use. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's called the cash formula. Cash with a K, not cash with a C. Don't get too excited. Where the K stands for knowledge. So conversations like we're having today is about, getting this knowledge, perhaps from people who know a little bit more about the topic, and then you begin to internalize, maybe read up a little bit more about it. This topic is vast, it's huge. There are different models that are used across the world. There are lots of people who are experts in this. But start advancing your knowledge. And then the A stands for attitude. So what is your attitude towards, again, conversations like this? Attitude is the driver. Attitude in itself can be part of emotional intelligence, but it's really now developing an attitude, for example, of becoming a little bit more self-aware, becoming aware of how your behavior affects your younger brothers and your siblings at home, or how your behavior affects your teacher or your colleagues in school or in the workplace. And then obviously beginning to develop an attitude where you're getting the best out of not just yourself, but the best out of other people. The definition of emotional intelligence is managing, perceiving, and expressing your emotions to help yourself and to help those around you. And then Vicky talked about S. That's a skill. Answering your question right here. Skill. Just like Messi or Ronaldo can bend that ball around a wall, it's about developing that particular skill. It's about working on it. Sometimes we fall, we have to get up, we brush ourselves down, and we start all over again. And the skills like resilience, empathy, gratitude, all of these things that we talk about, it's about developing a practice, a habit. That is your H right there. It becomes an habit, a habit. And really, it's a success work habit. The World Economic Forum puts out a list of skills that you need to succeed in this brave new world. They've been doing this for the last 10 years. And the World Economic Forum are the most influential people in the world. They meet in Davos, Switzerland every year. They haven't met they didn't meet last year. They're actually meeting this month in Singapore. And prominent amongst the skills that they say are needed, particularly by young people, is the skill of emotional intelligence. And by the way, it's linked to so many things: negotiation skills, creativity, and all of these other things that we need to become better at what we do. So there you have it. It is a skill.
Wow.
Work on it.
Wow, that's unforgettable. Cash, because I'm thinking money, but well, cash with a K. So yeah, so knowledge, attitude, skill, and habit. Thank you for that.